one he would throw LeBron. Like, because Derrick Jones Jr., like, he's crazy athletic. But he just, so anyways, D-Wade threw up the backboard. So there's little moments against the Hawks that, like, probably the average person's not going to remember. The average fan might not remember that moment. But remember, like, some of the other bigger ones, like, you know, obviously the game against the Warriors, I'm pretty sure every defense can remember that.
Yeah.
But I took it as, like, I kind of just took in every moment. So, like, with the thought of, I know, like, I'm never going to see something like this. I'm never going to see Wade again, basically, in terms of on the court. Because it's sad, because it's just, you know, he is who he is. He's a legend. He's, you know, just a fantastic player, fantastic human being. And, yeah, I really can't say much else. I mean, I can go on and on, really. So
yeah, he's the greatest. Like, to me, he's the greatest Miami, like, you know, like professional athlete that ever came to the city and did so much. You know, like people don't realize the sacrifice that he had to do. Like, first few years of his career, like, he sacrificed his body and everything. Like, to this day, people always be like, now, if Wade never, like, got injured, you know, especially, like, in the 07 season when he missed a whole bunch of time because of the arm injury,
right?
Like, how would his numbers look now? I feel like he would have been close to 30,000 or maybe at 30,000 just because.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like, just because of the crazy, like, stuff that he did, and he just that bank shot was always, you know, his move.
Yes.
And then,
and people forget too. Early on in his career, when he was a rookie, like in his first couple of years, he would cross over people. Like, I mean, he always is able to cross over.
Right.
But, like, he was like, you could tell that AI was one of his influences. Because he would cross over people like nasty, and it was just so much fun. Like, he would just break so many people's ankles his first couple of years because he played point guard his rookie year, good chunk of it. But yeah, I just remember it's just like when people think Dwayne Wade, they think of, you know, like, obviously blocks. I mean, obviously scoring and blocks, but, like, he's also very, very good, like, a ball handler, especially early on. It was incredible. But yeah, back to what you're saying in terms of Dwayne, like, he's from Chicago, but he always embraced Miami and embraced the community.
right.
I like the community thing, but like you said, like, he basically turned into, like, Miami, like, you know what I mean? Like, he turned into, like, Miami's, like, son, kind of. And it's just, again, the whole my home, you know, he always, this is my house, you know?
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, like, just like even at University of Miami back in the days, like, it was majority of the players, not majority, but probably like maybe 30% of the players that went to UM wasn't even from Florida, but they were so embraced down here, you know, in Miami. You know, people, you know, they could be from Texas or New Jersey or LA somewhere. But when they come down here and go to school, and especially during them days, the glory days, like, your family, you know.
Right. I mean, I can get into a whole other conversation with you about the greatest college football team of all time in the 01 Canes. I can go on and on.
That's the best team. That was we all, me and my friends, we always talk about it, like, Reggie Wayne, a future Hall of Fame receiver, he was like the 6th or 5th receiver on that team. Like,
it's crazy. The running backs are insane. Like, I think the backup running backs were, like, guys that eventually started and became, like, All-Americans. Like, it's mind-boggling, that team. Like, the talent that was that team. Yeah,
because you had Clinton Portis. You had...
I think Frank Gore was a freshman. I think that's what I'm kind of thinking of as, like, the guy that he played eventually, like a year later, but he was so, like, that running back stable was so, like, stacked that and Clinton Portis is incredible.
It was crazy. I think the only team, honestly, like a lot of people would say Alabama, but I feel like the only team that could probably match up to Miami, in my opinion, is USC. Because USC, they had
Reggie Bush one?
The Reggie Bush and Lindell White and Matt Lyon.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize doing that before they won that championship. Matt Lyon was like, I think the third quarterback. It was, I mean, you remember when Carson Palmer was there? That was before they won the championship. He had Carson Palmer, and I forgot who was before. It was somebody. I forgot. I think it was Matt Castle was behind him or some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
and it was
I mean, yeah. I mean, now that you're on USC, one thing I've always kind of like, I never understood. They've had so many good players. I mean, like Reggie Bush, had a solid, NFL career, but it's gone crazy how like okay, Carson Palmer got hurt. Like if he can get hurt against the Steelers in that playoff, Steelers I think in that playoff game, they probably would have made it really far. But other than like those guys, I feel like a lot of their skill position players, like they don't really pan out in the league, and I've always found that like odd because like you would think that these guys, you know what I mean? Like
Like,
it's interesting. Something I've always kind of like never quite figured out. I never understood.
I think, because even like defense, the only one who really paid out was Troy Polamalu from that defense.
Exactly.
Like everybody else was just, they was good, but they became average. Like Troy Polamalu about to be a Hall of Famer, soon.
Right.
So it is like that's why like they could be the closest, but that team got future Hall of Famers on us. Like they have like the whole defense. You know what I'm saying? Like you had the Andre Johnson. He's about to be a Hall of Famer as well. Like I was talking about Reggie Wayne earlier. Like they may be senior ballots, but I feel like especially like Willis McGahee, he's gonna be a senior ballot. Frank Gore's gonna be a first ballot.
Yeah. And speaking of what would have happened if there wasn't an injury, can you imagine Willis McGahee? Like Willis McGahee had a really good NFL career. Like but imagine if his knee, like it's crazy to think that, right? Like if his knee didn't get like blown out like that, then like who the heck knows? He could have been even. Who knows? He could have been even better. Like he would, it's just the fact that he still had a really good career, like a very very good career, is just testament to what he had to, all the rehab work he did. Like it's that nuts.
Yeah, because like especially you gotta realize like, and I was just talking to somebody about this, like in the early 2000s, like technology wasn't how it is now, like how it's advanced. So imagine like how like if they had the technology that they have now in 2019, but back in like what was it, 02, 03, like Willis McGahee probably like would have recovered faster and probably would have been, even more. His legs probably wouldn't have got even stronger from that injury because he did really good in the league. Like he did great, especially the first few years. But you could tell that injury was still kind of like lingering over him, like especially going towards his his plateau, in the league. But I agree with what you said. Like even with Clinton Portis came out gunslinging, when he played for the Broncos and then especially for the Redskins, and then like you look at his numbers and it's like, I know it may not be pretty, but it's like especially for that time in the league where it was so hard to like run. Like it wasn't how it is now. Like the NFL and the NBA, they got kind of like soft compared to the early 2000s. I'm not taking away from like the athletes now because they are freakish, but. You look at players. You look at players like even Chad Okocinco. Like I feel like he could be in the Hall of Fame based off like who he had to play against. Like he had to play against like Ray Lewis and Champ Bailey and all these, Revis, like he had to go against all these talented dudes, and then like back in them days too, like you didn't have like a offense that was just like a Mahomes or even like a Brady offense, like with his coach and everything, like how it's just so wide open right now, like back in them days it was that pro offense and stuff like that.
Right. So speaking of Mahomes, that guy is insane, man. He's like I said, like I keep trying to track of football as much as I can. It's hard for me to with my job, but again, like it was hard not to see. Like Mahomes is he's just so talented. Like I've never seen like especially that early in their career, like do what he did. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, like I remember.
And that scene really showed how football is a team game because their offense is incredible, absolutely incredible. But like you need football is it's a team sport. That's why their defense obviously was it wasn't up to their offensive standards. But that's why I feel like another whole other session. But I feel like individual players get critiqued, especially QBs, for not winning a ring in football. To me, it's just like. To me, I get it. You're the leader. You should lead your team to a title if you want to be an all-time great. Like I get it, but
right.
It's a team game. Like the person I'm really kind of aiming this towards is Dan Marino. He didn't win a ring. Like so, he's automatically down the next tier. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll say a lot of newer age fans, newer age critics. You know what I mean? Like they really didn't get a chance to watch him. Now, me personally. I didn't watch too much of him, but just seeing all tape and watching him and just, looking at the crazy numbers he put up in an era when he was running. Like, the guy was just 20 years ahead of his time,
Right.
This is, again, I can understand not putting him maybe in the top 2 or 3 because if Joe Montana, Tom Brady, you got to, they won. Their numbers are very good. Their numbers are excellent as well. But I feel like at least 4 or 5 in that range Dan should be there because I feel like a lot of people put him in the 8 to 13 range, and I don't really think that's okay. Like Terry Bradshaw, right? Terry Bradshaw was great quarterback,
right?
But if you give Dan Marino the Steelers, he does just come on, Dan Marino never really had a defense like that, not even close. And then I don't think he ever had a really really good running back to kind of
Dan Marino didn't even have a good defense. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah, and then when he kind of did, it was just way too late. Those late '90s Dolphins defenses were nasty. But even in his last couple of years, they were still developing. They weren't in '99, 2000. He was obviously gone by then, or he was gone '99. But Jason Taylor, Zach, I can go on. Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas,
Patrick Surtain.
And how to say, Rock Marion, that defense was, if you look at defense in 93, 94, 95, obviously Taylor didn't read that. But if you didn't win with that, okay. But that's okay, I got you. But it's just kind of a rant, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to, that's all.
Because honestly, no, you have a point, that's a true South Floridian. But it's true, we're young in terms of compared to that generation, with the Marinos and the Elways. When we knew of them, we was young, we was very young, we was pretty much 7, 8, 9 years old. But to grow up and just to see the 30 for 30s and the different documentaries and stuff and go back to the highlights. What was the 83, 84 class? It was 83, right? 84?
I think it was 84 he made it.
Yeah, because it was Marino, Elway. It was so many quarterbacks in that class, but not just even in that draft class, but in that whole that generational with the Steve Youngs and You know, the Brett Favre when he was young, like, you know, and a lot of people don't, you know, they tend to forget Drew Bledsoe. You look at his numbers, Drew Bledsoe numbers is way better than Eli.